And welcome back. It is Wednesday, September 6th, 2017. God, I can't believe it's September already. Fall is upon us. We had Carla in yesterday from the Gilmer Chamber. She was here to talk about all of the fun stuff going on up here in North Georgia. This really is prime time for our part, our neck of the woods. Obviously those of us that live here know this, but it's kind of fun how in the summertime it's like the Great Depression ends and we start getting tourists and money and the economy picks up, and then by fall, by mid-September, it's just in overdrive before it all ends around Christmas time. But she was in here talking about all the apple houses, the U-Pick stuff going on. Be sure to check out their website at gilmerchamber.com, especially if you have friends and family that are coming up to visit. Lots of exciting stuff going on, fall festivals, corn mazes, the whole 9 yards. If you want to reach us, you can always call us at 706-889-9700. You can find us on social media at FYNTV, at Fetch Your News, and of course on Facebook by the same names. We also have, I think we're updating our cards next week and our Chirons, but we also have a new page, Team FYN Sports. That's the new exclusive home for all of our sports programming. We got our 4 high school football coaches shows. We'll be coming at you from Circuit World in Blue Ridge tonight for Rebel wrap-up. The Fannin County Rebels had a tough loss last week, but it's always fun catching up with those guys, breaking down the previous game, looking ahead to the game ahead. And you know, fine folks over at Circuit World are always great to us. Great place to shoot. Also, what are the other announcements? Oh yeah, BKP not with us today. He is in Blue Ridge working on a story. Pretty exciting stuff he's got going on, and really just an exciting time in general around here. Everybody's real thrilled. Like I said before, this Team FYN Sports has really taken off. We got a lot of content that we're going to be adding. Got some new folks to introduce you to. That will all be in the coming weeks. So back to the news, back to DACA. We talked last segment about Attorney General Jeff Sessions, and he was the chosen messenger yesterday to come and deliver the announcement that Donald Trump, or the Trump administration, will be ending the program known as DACA. And, you know, I mean, it's probably not the craziest thing for the Attorney General to do. All the liberals are going nuts saying that it's not the role of the Attorney General. But the reason why he was the messenger is because there's a lawsuit against DACA, and DACA is very similar to another program called DAPA, where you just replace a C with a P, and it was a deferred action for parents of dreamers, as they're called. And the Supreme Court was tied. It was before Neil Gorsuch was seated, but they tied 4-4, so that the decision was kicked down to the lower court decision, which ruled it unconstitutional. So, considering it's essentially the same thing, except it's children instead of the parents, Sessions, I think rightfully assumed that probably was not going to hold up in court, especially now that Gorsuch has been seated. So he knew. All right, so let me backtrack a little bit. There's a lawsuit moving through challenging DACA that the U.S. government, the administration, has to defend in court, the U.S. Solicitor General. And the Obama administration defended it and lost DAPA, and then it's been winding its way through on DACA. But now with the new administration, the new folks, Jeff Sessions, his team, are now the ones charged with defending it or arguing the case. Sorry, there's a party in the control room right now. I don't know what's going on. I hope it's not something I did. But why is everyone laughing at me? So Yeah, I thought it was like something on my face or something. Breaking the camera. But Sessions made the decision that they weren't going to defend this in court. They weren't going to argue it in court because, number one, obviously they don't believe in it. But number two, they knew it was a losing battle because DAPA is essentially the same thing. So when you think of it logically, they knew that this executive order from President Barack Obama would not hold up. So why waste taxpayers' dollars, the time in our courts that already jammed up enough, arguing this case when you can just get Congress to do what they're supposed to do and pass a law to fix it? Because that's how this stuff works, right? So we're going to get into the clip. I know I've been teasing it far too long, so let's go ahead and cue that up. This is Don Lemon's reaction to the news yesterday. Do we have that?
Discuss CNN's Dana Bash, Manu Raju, and senior political analyst David Gergen. Good evening to all of you. Here we have the storm that's happening out in the Caribbean and then the one that's happening in Washington and throughout the country now. So Dana, we're seeing protests all over this country to the president's decision to end DACA. The president left the announcement to his attorney general, Jeff Sessions, but later defended the decision when asked about it. Watch this.
I have a love for these people, and hopefully now Congress will be able to help them and do it properly. And I can tell you, in speaking to members of Congress, they want to be able to do something and do it right. And really, we have no choice. We have to be able to do something. And I think it's going to work out very well. And long term, it's going to be the right solution.
And so, Dana, he just tweeted tonight, Congress now has 6 months to legalize DACA, something the Obama administration was unable to do. If they can't, I will revisit the issue. He'll revisit the issue? What is he talking about? Is he wavering? Why doesn't he make a decision as a commander-in-chief instead of leaving it up to someone else or another body?
Well, all right, cut it. What is he doing? Why is he leaving it up to someone else to do it? Well, Don, because that's what Congress is supposed to do. The president doesn't make the laws. I know we had 8 years of Obama, and it was really, you know, it was awesome because you love the guy, but the president doesn't make law. The whole pin in the phone thing is not right. I mean, that's, you know, reason number 1058 that Trump won, because the way our government was being run, I mean, they were just blowing law and process in the wind. You know, if you can't get Congress to do it, you know, hey, why not be a dictator? And then the hyperbole machine, man. What did he say? There's a storm in the Caribbean and a storm in Washington. Yeah, because, you know, the people who are gonna have their houses leveled by a hurricane really consider this the same thing, right? I mean, it's just unreal how out of touch they are. And when you think about what Trump said in that clip, he didn't say I'm a white supremacist or I hate black and brown people or I'm a dog whistle or you know, black people not welcome, colored people not welcome. And they want to, and we'll get to later what I mean by this, but all he said was we're going to give it 6 months and we're going to let Congress do it because that's what's supposed to happen. That's who makes the laws. And, you know, forgive me if I'm wrong, but aren't these the same people like Don Lemon, that bashed Congress day in and day out during the Obama years? Why won't Congress act? Why aren't they supposed to do this? I mean, they were experts on civics back then when it was in their favor. But now that President Donald Trump does something that they don't like, Congress is all of a sudden, you know, irrelevant, right? Why push it off to Congress? Why, you know, what is he talking about, David Gergen? So, speaking of David Gergen, I think he is the second clip, 1140. Okay, we have the YouTube machine has frozen a little bit. I have his quote though. and we'll get to, I'll play the clip in a second, but Gergen and Don Lemon had a little conversation where Gergen says, if you're not white, that the White House is essentially saying, if you're not white, you're not welcome here. And Don Lemon says, if you're not white, you're not welcome here also. So they agree. And it's like they're taking an issue that is about law. Okay, yeah, here it is.
Leave something to the Congress. Ever since the days of Franklin Roosevelt, they have proposed, sent a proposal to Congress to say, here are the principles, here's what I want to do. Have we heard one word from this guy in the last 24 hours about what he wants Congress to pass? How can any dreamer rely on, such weak, and I don't want to say coward, but such weak leadership.
Weak. Okay, that's fair enough. Mano, you've been sitting by very patiently there. I want to bring you in. Senators Lindsey Graham, Dick Durbin proposing.
All right, so that was the earlier clip, but just as important. Back to the Congress point, David Gergen saying that he hasn't heard one word of a plan that he wants Congress to pass. I don't know about you, but didn't Trump just say, I want them to fix this? I mean, every president since FDR has given Congress a directive or a direction on what they want, a very detailed order. And he's right. I mean, Gergen's right about that, but that's not a prerequisite. That's not mandatory. In fact, it kind of blurs the lines of separation of powers and what everyone is supposed to do in the first place. That's why I kind of like Trump and the fact that he's a bit inexperienced, because coming from the business end of things, he can return it to the way it was supposed to be, where Congress is the power center. Congress is the place that is most representative of the people, where you have the House of Representatives, which is proportional to our population by our states, and then the Senate, which is equal representation among every state, and they check each other, and they make the law. The House starts it. We've all seen Schoolhouse Rock, right? The House starts the bill, and it goes to the Senate for ratification, and that's how this happens. Then the president has his check on the Congress, because he can choose whether to sign the bill, veto the bill, or send it back. So the fact that someone so esteemed as a guy like Gergen, it just baffles me that a guy who was an advisor to Nixon, Reagan, and Clinton can't grasp the concept of how bills are passed and how the process works. Donald Trump does not have to send them a directive or a 15-point outline on what he wants them to do. The president is completely allowed to just say, hey, I'm delaying this. Ball's in your court. You make the call. And that's why he's a good politician. And they'll never give him credit for it, but it's kind of a masterstroke. And we're going to get more into it, but we're going to take a quick break. We're approaching the top of the hour. We're going to do one more segment here on the DACA stuff. Take us on out, Sam.